from our friend CFB Budge. Does great work. Appreciate him asking this question. He actually sent me his own preview magazine before the season. It was phenomenal. He asks, who do you think the sleeping giants in college football are? And this is a tricky question because I think it's hard to determine what your criteria is. Is sleeping giant, hey, they could be, but they just haven't ever been? Hey, they could be because we've seen them be before. And so what does that mean? My criteria was brand, national brand. Are you relevant nationally? Is there a fan base there that would provide a care factor in terms of providing resources, providing NIL opportunities, things of that nature? And then also there is something to be said for track record. Like Nebraska, there's no way around it, man. They are a sleeping giant in college football. Sleeping giant in college football. We've seen what Nebraska has been. There's footprints on the moon in Lincoln. I don't think there is a higher care factor anywhere in the country than in Lincoln, Nebraska. And when I say care factor, their fans are rabid in person and on YouTube, on social media. Like, they care and they love their Huskers. That is their professional team. And so if they start winning, if Matt Rule, and we believe this, Matt Rule is going to get that thing off the ground and they start having some success, it's going to compound. People are going to get more involved. There's going to be more excitement. There's going to be more juice. That's how Nebraska operates. That's how Nebraska football has operated before when they were a national brand. I don't think that's something that we're going to have to go our lifetime before Nebraska is back to national relevance. So Nebraska, without question, a sleeping giant. Texas A&M, I don't think there's a place that is better resourced in all of America. I can't prove it, but when it comes to the yeses you get at Texas A&M, have to imagine they far and vastly outnumber the no's that you would get if you're asking for things. Recruiting footprint for them, being in the state of Texas, absolutely prime. For a long time, they were the only SEC school in the state. Now Texas is joining the show, so that's going to change things a little bit. But the way that I look at this, man, you have everything you need to win right there in College Station. Everything you need. And that's the other part, too. College Station, got to work there for a short period of time doing local news. Austin is awesome. Other cities within the SEC are phenomenal. But College Station, Texas, I only use Austin because I think it's important to differentiate their potential advantage they could have over a school like Texas if they were to get it rolling. College Station revolves around Texas A&M. Austin has other opportunities. College Station is all about A&M. So if that's what you're looking for as a recruit and Texas A&M starts winning, they could get rolling here. They could get rolling. So they're like a Ferrari in my mind, like a powder keg. If you get the right driver in that car, which Mike Elko very much so could be, you light that powder keg on fire, it's going to be a very massive explosion in a real good way. Florida, I think, is also a sleeping giant, and there's probably some debate to be had about how asleep are they. JD, they're not that far removed from double-digit win seasons and playing in Atlanta for the SEC title. I totally hear that. But I think when you look at the opportunity for Florida, the opportunity for Florida for me revolves around the word the. Florida is the school in the state, in the conference, which is the SEC. If you want to stay in the Sunshine State and you want to compete in the best conference in America, you go to Florida. These kids just need a reason to go to Florida. They're well-resourced. We've seen that. The brand is massive from a national standpoint. If they start winning, that thing is going to compound quick, fast, and in a hurry when it comes to Florida. So how asleep are they? It's a fair question to ask, but I think if they get rolling, they would wreak havoc on the rest of college football. Probably could say the same thing about Miami. I feel like it's difficult to do a segment like this about sleeping giants and not mention Miami. We've seen what they were with the 30 for 30 documentary around the U and, you know, what Howard Schnellenberger did, you know, putting the state of Miami and the fence around that. If they recruit Miami well, Miami can once again be Miami. I think they're on that upward trajectory right now with their trend. Here's a couple more that are maybe a little more off the radar. Virginia Tech, man, just as a college football fan, as a college football romantic, this is one that I think we need. This is a massive brand. Just because it hasn't been recently doesn't mean it isn't in college football. And there's a certain aura around Virginia Tech football, especially when it's up and humming. Like when Frank Beamer was there, man, they were rolling. They had double-digit win seasons from 2004 to 2011 every single year. Enter Sandman is a spectacle of its own that I've only seen from my television, but I want to see in person one day. You got the lunch pail. There's a certain, again, just a mystique around Virginia Tech that when they're up and humming is really captured and I think adds to the college football ecosystem. There's also a lot of talent in Virginia. Do not get it twisted. There's a lot of good high school football being played in Virginia, and when those guys stay home and go to Virginia Tech, it changes the game. Mike Vick from Virginia. Tyrod Taylor, Hampton, Virginia. You keep the Virginia guys in Virginia and get them to VT, I think that could be the path towards Virginia Tech being awake as a giant in the college football space. Last one to get to here, and this is probably the one where you gotta stretch a little bit. You gotta kind of get the tip of the fingertips out there, and maybe you'll again a little bit of a stretch here. I think SMU could be a sleeping giant in college football. And the Pony Excess, that great documentary from ESPN, I think that tells the story. They were doing NIL before NIL was a thing, right? Which is, of course, illegal. Not to say everybody wasn't doing it, but SMU got caught. It is what it is. When NIL wasn't a thing and they were doing NIL, they were co-national champs, was SMU. And so now NIL is legal and SMU is entered into the ACC. There's so much talent in that DFW area. I'm just saying, TCU, we've seen what they can do when they're able to acquire some of those guys that are able to be in that area and be able to be talented that way. I think that probably you have to have some stadium renovations if you're SMU. I've been to that stadium. It's awesome. If you want to be a giant in the college football space, probably might need to up your game there. But the thing with SMU, they're good for it, man. They got some deep pockets out there in Dallas. Highland Park, deep pockets. So I would love for SMU to be a giant in the college football space. They're probably in a deeper sleep than most of the schools on this list, but I'm just saying, again, go back to track record, we've seen SMU be a national prominence, be a nationally prominent SMU in a pre-NIL era. Well, now NIL is legal, so we'll see what SMU does there. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.